we have big Second Amendment news, and honestly, it's not good. Just as she did as Attorney General in Florida, Pam Bondi has come out saying that people under the age of 21 should not be able to hold handguns, and that is completely consistent with the Second Amendment. This is a big deal. It's not just the news story, which is of course a big deal, but it's also the direction this is pointing in. And I will say, Pam Bondi's come under scrutiny again and again for being anti-Second Amendment in the last couple of weeks, and I have defended her. This one is tough to defend. We're gonna get into it, and we're gonna talk about it, but yeah, this one's kind of rough. We're gonna get to all that in a second, but if you are new, please do subscribe down below. I really appreciate everyone who subscribed. It really means a lot to me. It's free, and thank you guys so much. I'm gonna get to why this is so important in just a second. But if you remember back a couple of weeks ago now, the Department of Justice declined to ask the Supreme Court for cert, essentially declined to ask the Supreme Court to hear the Reese case, which was a similar case dealing with 18 to 20-year-old handgun possession. The Reese case was in the 5th Circuit. Sakau, which is the name of this case, is in the 2nd Circuit. In the 5th Circuit, this 18 to 20-year-old handgun ban was considered unconstitutional. We won. And the Supreme Court declined to ask the Supreme Court to hear it, which would have set a powerful two-way precedent. I was super critical of that at the time. I'm still very critical of that at the time. I'm not a Pam Bondi hater. I'm not a Department of Justice hater. But the reality is, they did stop us from getting a massive win at the Supreme Court there. In this case, in the 2nd Circuit, the Department of Justice has actually put forward that they believe the 18 to 20-year-old handgun ban to be constitutional. Not like, we don't really think this should be heard of the Supreme Court. No. They said this is actually constitutional. I'm gonna read you the key language from it now. Don't get me wrong, this is geeky, but it is important. Okay, reading from it now. So they talked about the importance of the Second Amendment, and then they continue. There are, however, narrow circumstances in which the government may justifiably burden that right, and Section 922b1 and related statutes and regulations arise out of such a circumstance. Specifically, the restrictions at issue here stand solidly within our nation's history and tradition, which has greatly restricted the rights of those under the age of 21. I mean, that tells you all you need to know. They use the history and tradition language right from the Bruin framework, and have said, actually, this falls under the scope of the Second Amendment, and this is allowed. That is clearly wrong. That is clearly wrong for a number of reasons. Let's talk about the logical reasons, and then we'll talk about the legal reasons. The logical reason is, if you trust me enough to be able to register for the Army and go serve and fire significantly more dangerous machinery than a handgun, then why can't I own a gun? If I'm able to go serve and die for my country, if I'm able to go shoot literally enemy combatants and fight within a fighting force like the United States, if I'm able to fly an F-15, if I'm able to, shoot an A-10 Warthog, I should probably be able to shoot a Glock. Don't you think? It's kind of reasonable. It doesn't make sense on the face of it. I can drive when I'm 16, I can drive a multiple ton piece of machinery in the form of a car, which can kill a lot of people. And I can't own a handgun. Just ridiculous. Now, from the perspective of legality, I don't think they have an argument with this either. Presidents brought their guns to schools in the past. Militia, as defined in the U.S. statute, is able-bodied male between the ages of 18 and 45. 21-year-olds fit in that. It is very clear. Even if the Second Amendment, let's say you're the liberal, right? You say it only applies to the militia, right? That's all able-bodied men between the ages of 18 and 45. Even under that definition, 21-year-olds, 18 to 20-year-olds are included within that. Now you might say, how come we can restrict drinking to people over the age of 21? What's it with that? Well, drinking is not a fundamental constitutional right. The government's able, for instance, to restrict drinking from everyone, right? We've already done that, prohibition. It is not a fundamental constitutional right, like the right to keep and bear arms, like the right to free speech, freedom of religion, those sorts of things. The government is not able to restrict those to anyone defined as the people, the right of the people to keep and bear arms. And there is no definition, no reasonable definition of the word people that does not include people from the ages of 18 to 21. Those are very clearly the people, and those are people in the militia. Those are people that in the founding era were compelled to carry firearms. It wasn't like I can choose, right? I'm not between the ages of 18 and 21 anymore, but if I was, I would, it's not even saying that I could choose, whether or not to carry guns. There were laws at the time of the founding that compelled me to carry firearms. Now, I understand the counter-argument, which is this is something to do with concealed carry, right? This is something to do with handguns, concealed carry, and things like that. And that's reasonable in one sense, except it isn't. Under Bruin, the right to carry a firearm is a fundamental right. The states can regulate the manner of carry, open carry or concealed carry, but they cannot regulate the right to carry at all. And Connecticut, the state where this all happened in, right? The state where this case originated from, does not allow the open carry of handguns. So the reality is, this is absolutely, undeniably, unequivocally, very clearly, if you look at it in any way, shape, or form, denying the right of people between the ages of 18 and 21 from carrying that weapon in self-defense. Very clear, open and shut case. And this is what's so frustrating. This is what's so frustrating being in this space. We have a pro-2A attorney general nominally. We have a pro-2A administration, which is undeniably pro-2A. There's no argument about that. Donald Trump is pro-2A. You can argue with me in the comments about that. I will die on that hill. Donald Trump is pro-2A. But we have an open and shut, easy win for the Second Amendment. And the Department of Justice not only refused to take it in the case of the Reese case, they actively fight against it. And it is just shocking to me. Again and again and again and again. People in the Second Amendment movement just get bitten in the back. Now, again, I am not a DOJ hater. I am not a Pam Bondi hater. Pam Bondi has actually done some very good things for the Second Amendment. She's certainly done a much better job than almost every other attorney general since, let's say, the 1900s, right? There's just no argument about that. You can hate her. You can tell me I'm wrong. You're wrong if you disagree with that. That's just the reality. It's just true. It's just the reality. But this is a massive oversight in my view. Now, if you disagree, I want to hear in the comments, why am I wrong, right? I'm a very small channel. I will argue with you in the comments. So tell me, why am I wrong? But I don't think you can say that. I think this is open shut, very, very clear case. If you disagree with me, please do let me know. But anyway, I hope you did enjoy that video. If you did, please make sure to subscribe down below if you're new. Really, really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one.